to just keep going and talking about. Hello, welcome back. This is kind of probably bonus. Who the fuck knows what we're going to do with this?
Yeah,
but we're
this
just
is aftermath conversation.
Yeah, aftermath conversation, because this is way too cool. Yeah. For context, because it's key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what we're doing is we're going over what we were thinking about this. I'm not talking at you, but when I'm just going to explain what I've just said. So when I was talking through the episode, I was explaining in a context. So I explained it in the episode what I was doing. I was talking in a narrative. And I was talking as a narrative, as an academic. So there was assumptions I was making because of the narrative I was speaking in, which created expectations, which John, obviously not being as of an academic as I am, then had questions about, okay, how do I do that in my context? Which is what essentially anyone watching a video that, if you're talking in context, would want to know, would want to do. But that is where I guess, for me anyway, what I would want like the person to do is take some, not necessarily like take responsibility, but onus and having their own mind think about something, like them then critique it, which is exactly what you were doing. You were like, okay, how do I do that? What, how is that useful to me? What's the point? I don't get it. And I know it kind of sounds like counterintuitive. Why would I force someone to ask questions about what they're doing? But that's what coaching is. That's what teaching is. It's forcing people to be uncomfortable with the questions that they need to ask, because you're talking in a context that doesn't relate to them. So they can't just blanket apply it, which I guess sucks as a consumer, because you're like, you're making me think, fuck you. But it's more useful, which I know people don't like. Yeah, it's kind of like dishing out the broccoli. Yeah. That's my thinking, is like, as a coach, I don't give answers.
Yeah,
I force people to answer their own questions. I give people a context for them to go, well, how do I do that? I don't understand. And it forces them to go away and learn. And people don't like going away and learning.
Some people.
Oh yeah, some people. That was an assumption. I'm just speaking out loud. I'm like 5 steps ahead in my head. Where am I? In my head's like all over the fucking place. Language is out the window because it's bonus. I don't know what we're doing with the recording.
It's interesting because as we were talking to basically the conversation shifted quite. I think what you said, I don't know whether it was in the episode or just after, it's like literally it took your core and literally the ideas and the conversations literally punched your core and split it into something else. And I think that is kind of what's happening, and the experience that's happening now is like your core shifts and moves, as you said, a new planet is built. And it was interesting, and what prompted this conversation is looking back over what we just watched, and what we just consumed and we're speaking about. Because as I said, I think in the context episode, like it shifts. Our context is always moving as we develop, as we move. And so the prior information we have gathered and the sources that we've gathered and the ideas, like our source has changed. Like it is not changed, moved, has shifted, has broken apart and split into something different. And that experience is interesting from someone who is outside and from being inside. And that, as coaches, is what we do.
I'm just going to speak out loud because this is what I'm thinking. So like when coaching, most people don't like, I'm not going to speak in third person, I'm going to speak in first person. So when I was coaching, most people don't like it when you ask people to think, ask people to do something like work, like working memory. People try and avoid it, precrastination. So as a coach, you need to find a balance of getting them to learn something without them knowing they're learning something, or get them to learn something through building an environment where they need to answer a question themselves. Doing that in a video audio format is difficult because they can't ask the questions. Like during the episode, you were asking me questions, which is exactly what coaching is. You say something, someone goes, I don't get this, I don't get that, explain that to me, or I'm just going to test this out, please give me feedback. And that is the interaction of a conversation. The interaction of a conversation can't be had in a video that's linear. A 10-minute video, you may have a question at minute 1 and we can't go over that, which is why videos have limitations, which is why courses, conversations, groups, masterminds, the rest of it are useful. And going through those things, as an individual that consumes content, most of the videos I watch don't trigger questions in me. This is a bonus episode. I'm going to be blunt. 95%, yes, that's an arbitrary number, of videos I watch on YouTube are shit when it comes to coaching, education, teaching. They are absolute dog shit. There's no sources, there's no citations. If there is sources and citations in the majority of the videos, they are poorly cited sources, or the sources are biased. The methods don't apply to the context. They don't apply to what was being spoken about, or the interpretation is completely overreaching, or they're saying something that just wasn't in the sources at all. And it's just opinions, it's experiences. They are not educational. They don't make me think at all. They just tell me how to do the thing. Fine. Yeah. If that's what you want to do, tell me how you do the thing. Cool. Doesn't help me. Doesn't educate me at all. And to be completely honest, most of the time when I'm watching those videos, they are brain breaks. Like, I watch YouTube as a brain break. I don't watch YouTube as I'm going to go learn something. There are a couple of channels that I go, I'm like, okay, I want to learn something. But I know, I know in my head, like, I have to be in a right mind space to watch these people, because I'm going to be thinking, I'm going to be engaging my brain. If I'm not engaging my brain, I'm not learning. Working memory, cognitive load theory, ain't going to chat about it. But most YouTube videos are dog shit when it comes to learning and education, but they call themselves learning and educational channels. They're not, which is a bugbear in marketing. Again, just being completely open and honest here. And I guess when I'm sharing information, I finding that balance of, I don't want to be just saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff, but I don't want to be so heavy in the coaching element that people need to be like, okay, I need to be in this mindset to watch this video, because it's going to be like, I need to really engage and think about stuff. Because people, a lot of people, the majority of people, don't go on social media, on YouTube, on different areas to think heavily about something.
Yeah, and I noticed that too, because whether it is part of viewership, this is probably more of a correlation than anything else, but of like, the videos that I do are heavy on questions. They're not around like stuff to do. They're not around that. They're around like figuring out how you work, which doesn't have 5 steps to figuring out how you work, because context needs to be provided all the time. And I think there is a risk, especially in the YouTube space, once you reach a certain level of YouTube fame, that all of that goes out the window and is lost. There are a few channels which I really do. I think it's a different conversation for a different person. It's different. I mean, there are
just from my personal experience, the videos that do best on my channel are the how-to videos, how you do A, B, C, D. Yeah. And most of those videos, in my opinion, are absolutely useless. They are absolutely useless when it comes to actually applying anything. Like, if you're a complete beginner at the tool, really, really useful. Yeah, you can use it to learn what buttons to push. Great. But once you know what buttons to push, they serve no use. And I think it just shows how many people are either they're watching stuff for the sake of watching stuff, or they're just trying new tools because they want to experiment, have a look. Like, how to start a Notion account, I don't think needs a video, but it's one of the most popular parts of one of my videos. And I'm like, literally, you push the buttons that are on the account thing. But when people have the Notion account set up, they need to have a setup. And people love looking at people's setups, and they look at loads of people's setups and then they don't do anything with it. And then the videos that talk about how you set up your own thing get no views because it's how to make a setup, how to look at the philosophy behind building your own setup. But people aren't looking for that.
We've had this discussion in private as well with other creators who want to move forward. And it's why my YouTube channel has never, quote unquote, taken off and gone big, is because I kind of, for a long time, refused to create that content. I found that it was just not rewarding. It doesn't provide a transformation. It doesn't provide a capacity to actually get where you want to go, which is why my viewership for my channel is so low, because specific types of people, well, one of the reasons is only specific types of people will want to consume that form of content.
Yeah, I mean, that's a struggle I have.
Yeah, same thing. And it's an interesting, when it comes to our conversation around sourcing and things like that, how can we bring more sources in another way? That
we've spoken about this briefly. I think it was last time I recorded, like I was talking about my attempt at going forwards, the Feynman technique being the first video as an attempt. Like the Feynman technique video was a kind of like a clickbaity, somewhat like topic, but it looked at the how I take notes a little bit. Maybe I needed to put a little bit more of the how-to stuff in there, but also here's the theory, here's the practice, and here are the sources. Now, the source I put in the video was to my notes because I couldn't source any actual, what I would class as useful sources, because there aren't any, which was kind of the point of the video. And I mean, the Feynman technique page on Wikipedia has been merged with another page because the Feynman technique just doesn't warrant an article. It just doesn't. But doing those videos, like the how-to videos, popular. The philosophy videos, not popular. How do I put chocolate and broccoli together? And that's what I'm trying to do. It's like, how do I bring the candy, the sweets, the chocolate, this is my new tool, or this is how you do this thing, with, okay, here's how I'm actually applying this in real life, and the philosophy behind it, the thinking behind it, and what the fuck I'm actually doing with it. Because so many people, like I did a poll on the channel. I don't know whether you engaged in the poll, but I said, what would you be more interested in? How I capture notes, how I process notes, or the results of the notes. I don't. Did you see that poll?
I think so. Yeah. Yes, I did. I can't remember which one I voted, if I'm honest.
So most people voted for. So it was like a 35-ish% for capture, 45-ish% for processing, and the rest was results. Like no one cared about like how I got to the results, where I got to the results, what the results were of whatever it is that I was learning, finding out about. They were more interested in the how I was doing the capturing thing and the processing thing, which makes sense. But the how I do is contextual. As an academic, if you're not an academic, the how I do things is going to be completely different. Like I'm going to use Word and Zotero because they're the tools I use. If you're not doing any academic papers, I probably wouldn't be using Word and Zotero because I hate Word.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I do this video or these videos on how I capture, how I process these notes, when I know most of the people that are watching it, it's not actually good advice for them because it's not the context that suits them. So that goes like a moral dilemma for me. It's like, no. So I need to try and get them to ask questions like, okay, does this work for me? But if I'm getting people to ask questions about something, there needs to be context. And if there's context on a how-to video, I need to be doing something, which means there needs to be a result. But people aren't interested in the result. So I could be doing this is what poo smells like. No one cares what the result is, and just the how-to stuff. But then I'm like, well, I'm not interested in that. So now I'm making a video that's boring to me. That's not what I want to do. And they're the dilemmas I have at the moment when I'm sharing stuff. It's like, do I share something that I know is going to like get clicks and get views and the rest of it, or do I go against that?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Fascinating.
I don't know, but
Right, we must end now. So
Yeah.
if you enjoy these little bits afterwards, let us know. I don't know where we're going to put this. Probably on the YouTube channel only.
yeah, I'll dump it on the YouTube channel and be like, bonus clip. Well, I've been posting stuff midweek, so
Yeah.
I'll just put like bonus in the thumbnail, in the title. So
Bye.
yeah, no, energetic video. I wasn't even looking at the camera either.